Hi everyone, hope you're doing well today, wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you're in, which is alluding to, in Australia, we have the times changing. So daylight savings finishes next Sunday. So it does not affect next Saturday's class. So it affects, I think, April the 13th. It's now Australia, will be Australian Eastern Standard Time, not Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So next Sunday is when it's actually the 7th of April, is when it's changing. So you'd be happy over there in England and other parts of maybe in Europe or whatever, in the Northern Hemisphere. And I don't know when your times are changing, but I think maybe this weekend, it could be next weekend. So you get an extra 2 hours sleeping before you have to start the class at 8 a.m. Of course, for Australia, I'm reminding you as well, but I'm sure that you guys were on top of that already. Okay, so now forget everything I just said. There is no time, and we'll do the chanting. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyambi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyambi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyambi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. These remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gate Gate Parasam Gate Bodhe Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Parasam Gate Bodhe Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Parasam Gate Bodhi Soha. So I just, I'll address a query that I had over Messenger from somebody in the US who is very familiar with Tibetan Buddhism. Of course, you probably know or recall that the generating the bodhicitta and taking refuge verse is translated from the Tibetan. The 4 immeasurable prayer is also translated from the Tibetan, and likewise the 7-limb practice is translated from Tibetan, as well as the merit dedication that we will chant later. So they were querying, they said that they are so used to the part or the verse that actually says, I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha through the positive potential I create by listening to the Dharma. may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. Whereas we say, the second line, we say, through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas. I remind you of this, okay? The actual literal translation from the verse that that we do is, I create all of these, what does it say? I've got to go from the start. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes. Okay, so that's a literal translation, but I actually took the liberty to translate that as the 6 paramitas, because that's what it's alluding to. Generosity being the first of the paramitas, far-reaching attitudes is a way of expressing or saying the paramitas or perfections. Okay, so I just thought I'd share that with you. And for the benefit of the person in the US who views the video later, it's a slightly different version. Okay, yes, we could do that one. But when I was introducing these prayers to Dharma students in Melbourne, not long after I first come back from living in the US, I decided to translate that as the 6 paramitas, okay? And also it's the one that was chanted in my Tibetan master's temple, Tukten Darje Ling, or Tukten Darje Temple, okay? And Geshe Gelsen, he translated that and utilized that prayer. So it goes in Tibetan, it goes like this. And the one that this other person is used to is so it changes from Chonyen to Jinsho. Okay, so I won't bore you with the literal translation, but that's what it basically means. The Jinsho basically means by listening to the Dharma, by listening, what does it say again? Chonyen basically means generosity and the others. Okay. So I thought I'd just do that before we did the meditation today, because I promised that I would address it, rather than I didn't have time at that time to write a long reply. Okay. So sorry about that if that bores you, because you may know it already. But if you're bored, this actually is focused too much on what you want and what you don't want. Okay, so I will also introduce this to you. What we'll talk about today is basically don't live with your head in the sand. Be honest to yourself. Be responsible, similar to last week. The universal law of karma, what to adopt and what to abandon. Of course, we covered these before, but also to do with the question that came during the week that relates to this teaching for today, and that is the 4 Reliances, okay? 4 things to rely upon. And then also, excuse me, we may touch on don't seek happiness from outside, but look within your own mind. Okay, so we may touch on that, but that's actually really the subject for next week. Okay, so now forget everything I just said, and we'll do some brief meditation. And get yourself comfortable, letting go of the past, letting go from any worries that dwelling on the past may cause, letting go of the concept of the future, and letting go of any anxiety that could result from you always thinking about the future. Bring your mind into this present moment that is fleeting. Bring your mind inside your body, and now release the tension from inside your body, from the bottom of the body all the way up to your shoulders, to the tips of your fingers, and to the top of your head. And as you're releasing this tension, I'll let you know that maybe you can do this while we're waiting for Leanne to let us into the Zoom class. Maybe you can set aside a fair bit of time beforehand to do these practices yourself, and then have a little refresher course as I give you instruction on them. So now scan your body again to see if there's any leftover tension that you can release. And when you've done this, bring your mind to the tip of your nose initially and follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose all the way into your lungs, then back out your nose again. Breathing in and breathing out. Focusing on the feeling of the breath. If thoughts arise or any mental agitation or activities arise, don't cling to them, don't grasp at them, don't try to force them away, and don't deny them. But naturally and simply just let them go by replacing your mind back onto your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by replacing your mind onto your breath more brightly. You might also like to add the extra technique of counting the breaths to help you focus on the breath. One in-breath and one out-breath is one, and so on. But if you get distracted on the way to 10, go back to 1 at that time. So let's practice like this in silence for a short while. Okay, so Leanne, I think someone's mic is open. Thank you. So now we can feel pleased and fill ourselves with universal love and kindness. You can utilize the visualization of filling your whole being with the white light or white nectar, or just go with the feeling. Fill yourself with so much friendship, goodwill, loving kindness, compassion, appreciation, respect, gratitude, honesty, and so on and so forth. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that it now radiates outwards, overflows. Radiates outwards initially to your loved ones, family and friends, filling them with the universal loving kindness too. Visualize that they really are now happy, free from any difficulties they may normally experience, and they're filled with the white light or the white nectar. And now extend further and further to include the strangers, those people that you may know a little bit or not at all, but have indifference towards. Filling them with the universal loving kindness too. And also those you may regard as enemies. Fill them with the universal loving kindness as well. May all of these three types of people from our own perspective be happy, have the causes of happiness, be free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. And may they be peaceful, free from conflict. So now let's radiate this loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, initially around your immediate area to all living beings now, whether you know about them or not, to all sentient beings, whether they live in the waters, on the land, fly through the air, born from wombs or eggs or moisture through transformation. As a small part of the Metta Sutra says, may all sentient beings be happy, may they live in safety and joy. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born, may they all be happy. Now further and further throughout your whole state, to all living beings throughout your whole state, innumerable beings. And gradually further and further, sort of like a tidal wave of loving kindness, your loving kindness spreads throughout your whole country and continues onwards throughout other countries, throughout the whole world and throughout the whole oceans too. Have your loving kindness pervade throughout this whole planet, down to the core of the earth, to the outermost atmosphere, and now further beyond this planet alone, throughout the whole solar system. And the galaxy. And the universe. To your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. Now, even though this is a very brief loving kindness meditation today, so that I can talk for a little bit, it is still very helpful, very useful for developing the loving kindness, freeing our mind from the opposite of it, letting go of the self, the attachment to self, letting go of any biases, and of course developing loving kindness and developing compassion. And at the same time realizing that we're all interrelated, all interconnected, and therefore increasing our wisdom, decreasing the ignorance. Okay, so now we can be present here and now as well to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious body, Chitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious pure of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And so now you can pay attention to listening to the Dharma. Okay, so remember to listen to the Dharma with just listen, not an opinionated mind, not with any sort of negative emotions such as pride and arrogance and so forth. Not to not want to listen to it, to use two negatives there. Then later on, you can contemplate the teachings to absorb your mind with them in meditation once you come to some understanding. And of course, I'll remind you, like the pot, the right way up, isn't it? You know, listen to the Dharma like that. Not a pot with holes because you won't remember. Not a pot with yesterday's curdled milk or putrid water in there, because otherwise we, with our own opinions and attitudes and so forth, we then make the Dharma putrid in a sense. Okay, so listen with a really open mind and the pot the right way up. So make sure that you are paying attention to the Dharma at any times, whether it's actually, online classes, person-to-person classes or in-person classes, or whether it's reading a book, do this with this type of intention using these examples. So leading on from that, I will talk first about what we know as the 4 reliances. And so this was brought to me, it was actually brought to me by 3 different people over the last month. So I thought that I should address it today. It's very simple. I won't go into too much detail because actually each reliance in itself is self-explanatory in the one sentence, really. So the first one is rely on the message of the teacher, not on his or her personality. So you may have a nice feeling towards your teacher or teachers. It's really great. We have a really good connection. But the actual character of or the personality of, you can learn some things from that. But actually, when there's a teaching happening, rely upon the message. So listen to the words of the teacher. Listen to the meaning behind, or work out the meaning behind the words and pay attention to that. Okay, so the second one is rely on the meaning and not just the words, as I just alluded to. So first one, rely on the message of the teacher, not on the personality of the teacher, and rely on the meaning of the words, yes, and not just the words themselves. Then number 3 is rely on the real meaning, the deeper meaning, the clear meaning, not on the provisional one. So you know how the Dharma teachings have many layers of meaning, you could say. Initially, it's just you could say, introduce the student to the concept, and then to go into deeper teachings on it, or more clear teachings on it. So eventually, rely upon the real meaning behind the teachings, okay? And then how are we doing for time? Actually, we did lose a bit of time at the start of class. That's why I thought we did, actually. So that's why I thought I'd keep the meditations really, really short today. Number 4 is rely on your wisdom mind and not on your ordinary judgmental mind. So this is why I mentioned before the 3 wisdom tools, And so wisdom mind, yes, we don't have the supreme wisdom yet, but clear away your judgments, clear away your prejudices, let go of all of your opinions and even your beliefs, even if they're correct. Let go of that and rely upon, once again, I'll reiterate, rely upon the message, rely upon the meaning of the message, rely upon the real meaning of the message, and rely upon your mind, non-biased, clear mind, okay? So that will do for the moment for that. Once again, this could probably take a few classes to go through all of this, but I wanted to cover it right now. The next, like I said before, the next little bits relate to don't live with your head in the sand, be honest to yourself, be responsible, a little bit on the universal law of karma and what to adopt and what to abandon. So the actual teaching, the quote, number 42 out of 50 in the book, is don't live like an emu or an ostrich and just put your head in the sand and think no one can see you. Be responsible. This is an embellishment on a bit of a crass, humorous teaching I gave many, many years ago in the temple in California, and said, don't live like an emu or an ostrich, and put your head in the sand and have your butt hanging out, because people can still see your butt, even if your head. You can't see anything. You think nobody can see you. Yes, they can. Your butt is bigger than your head, normally, anyway. Okay, so that was the initial teaching. Of course, I made it nicer in here. Okay, so and what I mean by that is that, a lot of people go around thinking that, they're getting away with doing certain things. It's happened. I shouldn't say a lot of people, most of the world really, and some varying sort of levels of unwholesomeness and so forth. Okay, but people think, oh, do this, get away with it. Not really. Even if you get away with it, with most people don't pay attention to it, you're not really getting away with it. The Buddha sees everything. The Bodhisattvas see everything. Some gods see everything. Okay, so actually, not everything, the gods, but many things. Okay, so you're not getting away with it anyway. Maybe you have a spider in the corner. You do something wrong, but the spider sees it. Try to think like that. You're not alone ever. So you can't get away with negative behavior. And if you do, if you're involved in sort of creating some negativities, then recognize it. Be honest to ourselves. And then you can change it. With our mind, we tend to create these negativities and then act upon them. But actually, that proves that with the mind, we can uproot them. It's like the negative feelings we get, such as depression and so forth. We create them over a long time, it becomes a chronic problem. But that means, because we created them, that means that we actually can undo them. I think that's really cool. So if ever I speak with anybody who's experiencing these negative states of mind, I remind them of this fact, that because we've created it, then we can undo it. Because if something else created it, then we can't undo it. That'd be very negative, wouldn't it? Like if some sort of superior being created it, or some sort of negative being created it. Actually, it's up to them then to free us from it. But actually, it's really up to us to undo it, undo the knots. So once again, don't live like an emu or an ostrich and just put your head in the sand and think no one can see you. When an emu or an ostrich does not want to be seen, they naively bury their head in the sand, thinking that their whole body is hidden from all that surrounds them. Just because they can't see anything, they think that nothing can see them. Actually, somebody who is a science teacher, he said to me that it's believed that this isn't the actual reason why they put their head in the sand. I can't remember what he said that's possible, but I also got back to him and said, he's also a student. I also got back to him and said, how do we know that? Can we read the ostrich or the emu's mind? So maybe they're doing it, maybe they're not, but it looks to us humans like they're doing that. And so this is the example that I'm using and the meaning behind the example, just for our own understanding. Similarly, many people act in this way, thinking that their unwholesome actions of mind, body, and speech go unnoticed by those around them. They live their lives trying to gain respect from others, but unfortunately think, act, and speak contrary to their wish to be respected. So I'll address this before I actually finish the explanation. And that is, like, so many people want to sort of be respected, want to impress others, but behave the opposite to being really respected by good people. They may be so-called respected by people that are similar to them with bad behavior and so forth, greedy or whatever. Maybe, and they sort of get gratified. They think actually this is, they're achieving what they really want to achieve. But if we want to impress others, make sure it's someone that is really good, rather than just somebody who's behaving badly all the time. And then you're brushing each other's egos and then helping each other reinforce the bad habits of behaving badly. And so I continue. They have no understanding of the universal law of karma, not realizing that for every unwholesome thought, action, and word that they engage in, they will experience a similar unwholesome and undesirable effect. Think about that. Of course, that's the way it is. If you develop or if you engage in creating negativities, then the effect will be negative. Can't be any other way. Be imbalanced if it was. So if you engage in negative thoughts, negative action, negative words, then the effects will be undesirable, will be negative. You want to avoid this suffering, then you must avoid causing it. If you want happiness, then you must engage in thoughts, actions, and words that cause happiness, that are wholesome, based on wisdom and compassion and love and kindness, friendliness and generosity and so forth, So you could say replace these negativities, these negative states of mind, such as ignorance, attachment, aversion, and so on, with the good qualities, okay? So we should do our very best to only engage in wholesome thoughts, actions, and words, and encourage and persuade others to do likewise. As we engage in these good actions based on good qualities, then you will be helping others and persuading, you could say, and encouraging others to do likewise. Be honest to ourselves and not put our head in the sand. Believe in ourselves and our potential to live virtuously. That's a really important sentence. Believe in ourselves, not in the egotistical self now, but believe in our potential and our ability to live virtuously, to develop wisdom, to develop compassion, to develop the love and kindness that we want to develop, or is the goal really of the practice of the loving kindness meditation. So I think that's all for that one. Did I cover everything? Yeah, I've kind of spoken a little bit about what to adopt and what to abandon. And as you know, I've spoken about this many times in many classes over the last few years and prior to that as well. Okay, so I'll leave that there. And maybe don't introduce you to the don't seek happiness from outside and look within your own mind now, because we have 1 minute and 17 seconds to go. I actually paid attention. Where does the time go? So maybe I'll just take the opportunity to read it to you again. When an emu or an ostrich does not want to be seen, they naively bury their head in the sand, thinking that their whole body is hidden from all that surrounds them. Just because they can't see anything, they think that nothing can see them. Similarly, many people act in this way, thinking that their unwholesome actions of body, speech, and mind go unnoticed by those around them. They live their lives trying to gain respect from others, but unfortunately think, act, and speak contrary to their wish to be respected. They have no understanding of the universal law of karma, not realizing that for every unwholesome thought, action, and word they engage in, they will experience a similar unwholesome and undesirable effect. So we should do our very best to only engage in wholesome thoughts, actions, and words, and encourage others to do likewise. Be honest to ourselves and not put our head in the sand. Believe in ourselves and our potential to live virtuously. Whew, did that fast because I didn't want to be cut off in the middle. I rejoice in your goodness and look forward to seeing you next week. Practice well. Look after yourselves, both mind and body.